Good evening and welcome to the Fredonia Central School District Board of Education meeting for Tuesday, February 11th, 2020. We begin every meeting with a pledge to the flag, so if everyone would rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The board is reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual or group. Concerns and comments during this session should be directly related to items listed on the proposed agenda for this meeting. Audience members seeking a response should complete a board correspondence sheet and return it to our district clerk, Christine Sligo. Is there anyone who would like to address the board at this time? Yes.
Andy Ludwig, 30 Ryan Place. My apologies, but my comment is about something that's missing from the board agenda tonight. Joan Dunning passed away. Joan was a longtime employee of Fredonia Central Schools, and I worked with Joan the first couple of years. I was a teacher. She was a teaching assistant in my classroom, and I think that we should have a moment of silence in her honor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to address the board? No? Okay. We will move on to the agenda and approving the consent agenda. Adoption of the consent agenda upon a motion and a second and an affirmative vote by members present approves each and every item so designated. However, prior to the adoption of the consent agenda, excuse me, any board member may remove any item from the consent agenda. This item will then come up for discussion as part of the regular agenda. The purpose of the consent agenda is to expedite routine matters so that the board has more time to deal with substantial matters. If I could have a motion to approve the consent agenda. We're looking to approve everything in personnel and new business, excluding A, B, and C of personnel, and excluding A of new business. Also, we are looking to strike,
B1.
P1, that would not be part of the consent agenda, but that was going to be excluded from the consent agenda. But we are striking B1.
So
That is, yes, 7B1, page 4. That was Mr. Hawk. Okay, and a second on that? Page 4B1 is stricken from the agenda. Okay. And I need a second on that motion for speaker of the agenda.
I'll second
Mr. Forrester, thank you very much. Anyone like to pull anything else out of the consent agenda? No? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, we have a special presentation for the Model UN. Mr. Newell and Mr. Donovan. Front and center.
I just want to say thank you again for having us. We've got a lot to share with you guys tonight, but Mr. Donovan and I are just going to pass the baton over to our 3 students that are going to represent our organization. Gabby Aldrich, Mia Gullo, and Joe Gullo are going to be presenting to you tonight. So thank you again for the opportunity.
Okay, so what is Model United Nations? As the name suggests, it's a simulation of the actual United Nations. It's an education. So it involves and teaches speaking and debating, writing and research skills, critical thinking, teamwork, both at the Fredonia meetings and at the conference in DNN, and leadership abilities.
So this year at Mount UN, we set a lot of new records. So we had the most people ever attending this year at 65 students attending the weekly meetings, and then a record number of 61 students actually attended the Gannon conference. And another record we set this year was we wrote 29 papers representing 29 countries. That's a lot of writing and a lot of editing. And so Mr. Newell and I counted up all of the pages and everything, and it took a little bit in the study hall. But we, as a total, wrote 116 pages of work, and that also involves like a bunch of hours to go into like researching everything that you're writing, and it takes a lot of time. So another record we set was we had 8 sets of siblings go to the conference this year, including me and Joe and our sister Gigi. There's all of us.
I say we have your picture card, our Christmas card taken every year at Model UN.
So there were quite a few changes at the conference this year. I mean, Gannon completely did an overhaul and changed everything, which, you know, we thought would throw us off a little bit, but we did pretty well. This year we had Mr. Donovan as our second official advisor. In past years he's come with us, but he's now officially an advisor, so that's pretty exciting. Instead of 1 or 2 countries with around 25 people, we had 29 countries because of the new rules that Gannon set into place. So each country would have 2 or 3 people on a committee writing a paper instead of being more focused. So we had 29 position papers as well. There was an entirely new rubric for writing the papers, which we'll get into later. We also used to have our meetings in the libraries, but you know, there was new changes with less computers and Chromebook carts. There's not as many Chromebooks in here, so we had the entire social studies hallway filled with Model UN kids. I mean, some kids sat out in the hallway and talked, some people in Mr. Newell's room. It was a lot. You can tell something was going on. And this year, since we had smaller groups, we had to match anybody with any experience with a person who doesn't have experience, so we could kind of build the program a little bit further. So I was matched with people who have not done the program in the past because I've been doing it for 4 years. Gabby and Mia were both matched with people who hadn't done the program in the past, and it's just a new cool thing that we're doing to build up the program. Oh, yep. So this year, even with the new changes, Fredonia still dominated the conference. Gabby Aldrich and Greta Frericks took first place in the position papers, and then Alex Schrader and Alex Madom took second place for the position papers. And there's only 3 awards given in that categories, and we got 1 and 2. And then we won the second place for overall best delegation, which is all of the work at the conference, your debating skills, and if you can get your resolution passed in the conference, those are all taken into account. And Finn Frericks and Grayson Osborne Coy won first best delegate in their committee in the Nuremberg trial simulation, which is one of the historical committees. So you just kind of simulate that time period, and you have to fight as your country. And they were Argentina, so that was a pretty interesting fight for them. And they did very well. And then Gabby Aldrich and Greta Frericks were awarded best delegate runner-ups, representing Gabon in GA3.
Okay, so what Joe was talking about after school on Fridays, each country needs to write a position paper, and we had 29 of those. So the paper contains an introduction, which includes statistics, geography, facts about ethnicity in the country, and some historical events. And then in the body paragraphs, for each committee, you follow a topic, and you need to define the topic. Describe how the UN is dealing with it, what your country is doing, and your country's stances on the topic. And then you need to include suggestions and solutions. So this is where the problem solving comes in. And then you write a conclusion. And this is different from past years because before we'd have about half the club writing 1 paper, and now you only have 2 people. So instead of a paragraph, you write 3 pages. And then committee topics. So the first one was restricting the flow of nuclear material to nations with intent to weaponize said materials. Ensuring mental health regulations and protection for disabled persons. My committee was promoting awareness for the rights of vulnerable populations such as pre-colonial native, stateless persons, and rural persons. Assessing the role of illegal non-state actors on politics and global crime. Security Council, Historical Security Council, and I believe that was like the 1980s. Nuremberg Trials, Principles of Humanity, and the Arab League.
So I'm just gonna walk us through the timeline for the entire year and then the conference. In May and June, we're assigned, committee topics, so what Gabby just read, and then, countries. And this year it was kind of a little bit different because we had 29 countries and we added and subtracted some, and we were like the US in some committees, but not in other committees. So there was also a meeting to explain all of the different changes. In September, we did a lot of research, so we would just go there and for an hour, we would look up all of the statistics that Gabby was talking about, country history, and you need to have sources for everything, reliable sources for everything, because they will go through that in the top competing papers at the conference, and if that doesn't line up, then you won't win. In October, we write the papers and the resolutions are just your proposals on how to fix a problem for your country that you bring to the conference, and it's kind of like a starting point for speaking. And then in November, we have debate prep, so we just teach all of the new members who haven't been there, Robert's Rules of Order and how the conference actually goes down and how to get things done.
So our weekly meetings are always held on Fridays. And so one thing that we did really different this year that was a huge change for us was, Joe mentioned it, the mentor system. So I was paired with someone who had never gone to the conference before. So you're basically in charge of teaching that person how to do everything. It's kind of a big weight, but building the program was something we really focused on this year because we have a lot of seniors graduating, and so we want to make sure that we don't lose all of the experience, but we give it out to the younger students and make sure that they know what they're doing. And so each country, when we go to the first meeting, you're given a Google Classroom folder so that everything on your committee that you need to know is there, and what your topic is about. And so then from there you start writing. Right off the bat, the first meeting, you start writing your paper, and then you just keep going until the conference.
So resolutions. The resolutions are what we actually debate about at the conference. So relating to each assigned topic, the students will write a brief paper separate from the position paper. They're debated on at Gannon. So each resolution is about the assigned topic in each committee, and it's written from the perspective of the student's country. Perspective is a huge thing. Even if you don't agree with the stance that a country has taken on certain policy issues, you need to act as if you're your country. So resolutions will include the actions that the United Nations has already done, and that's in the preambulatory clauses. And then in the operative clauses, the students will propose programs and solutions. These are totally made up. You can do whatever. We always have fun with acronyms, yes. Mine this year was RSVP, respecting, never mind. So then, over the course of 2 days, the final resolution is decided upon and amendments are made and voted upon by the students. So the goal of the whole conference is trying to get your paper to be the final one. You can have anywhere from 6 to 18 papers brought up in your committee, and you need to debate on them and narrow it down to one. So you want your paper to be the final one. You can make amendments, you can edit others, but the goal is to have as much as your paper in the final one.
So at the conference, it was very similar to past years for the setup of things. We start out with a general assembly meeting, so every student at the conference, there's 500, I would say, a lot, 500 kids there. You're all in one gigantic gymnasium at Gannon, and a speaker talk. So there was one person who lived in, does anybody remember the country he's from?
Bosnia.
Bosnia. And he was rescued by a UN mission there, so he came and talked about his story. And then they award the best paper, so everybody submits their paper like in a month in advance, and they review them, and then they present the best paper award. Then there's individual committee meetings. That's where we actually get the work done. That's where the resolutions come into play, and you start debating and you strike a lot of papers. Like in my committee, we started out with 11 resolutions, and by the end of the first night, we had 3 left. So we got a lot of work done that first day. And then there's the student social, which is interesting. It's a dance. It's different from any other dance you will ever go to in your life. So that's all I'm gonna say, but it's very interesting.
Private schools.
Yes.
And us.
And us. We're the life of the party though. On Saturday, they present the Gannon scholarships. And then, some Fredonia students have won in the past.
Yeah, second.
Seth Hannum won it last year. And then we have more meetings, and you're supposed to get everything done by the end of those meetings. You have a lunch break in between. The meals are always fantastic. And you get all the work done, and then you vote on your resolution at the end of the day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Questions? Any questions? Okay, this program has taken off.
Yes.
And now 2 advisors instead of 1, 2 buses instead of 1. But from the student standpoint, what has caused this? And the second question is, okay, is this another class for you, or is this something that you feel that you're gonna take into college and your profession at some point in time? Because helping it with a law degree possibly? Yeah, I don't know.
I definitely think that my skill in writing papers has gone through the roof this year because the amount of hours I've spent in Mr. Newell's classroom just rewriting papers, and it's helped so much. And then I saw the difference between my paper that I wrote last year and the paper that I wrote this year. Like, it was an astronomical difference. So I think that was one of the big things.
I don't think of it as another class. At first, it kind of feels like that because on all the Friday meetings, you're just writing and researching. But then once you get to the conference, it's a total different world. Like, I get such an adrenaline rush from it, and I want to do it year after year. And I know it's helped me with public speaking. My first year, I hardly wanted to talk in the conference at all. And then, this year I got runner-up best delegate. And the conference is part of why so many kids want to do it. You see some kids want to drop out or stop doing it because of the writing and researching, but really it's such a great experience once you go through the whole program.
Well, I will not be pursuing a law degree. It's just something that I love. I'm gonna have to piggyback off of everything that Gabby said. She said it perfectly. The work is not a lot of fun at times. I mean, I personally like it, but that's the part that a lot of people do not like. But once you get through that, the conference is so much fun. You meet so many great people, and you debate with a lot of very smart people. It's just refreshing and fun.
How did you develop your perspective? You mentioned you had to come at this from the perspective of whatever country you were assigned to. How did you develop that?
I just started with looking up the country's standpoints on a lot of issues and kind of getting into that frame of mind when writing my paper. So I was in the Nuclear Disarmament Committee as Japan, who have very strict regulations against everything having to do, nukes aren't even allowed to be set onto Japanese soil. So I just had to look it up and do a lot of research into it and try to get into that frame of mind.
A lot of significant history in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, but someone had Argentina.
Yeah.
So they had to adopt that.
That was an interesting case because his resolution did not pass, but he was much more a part of the show than he should have been because his paper was obviously Argentina's as like a Nazi sympathizer standpoint. So he took up the exact position that his country would have taken and ended up getting best delegate because he stuck with his country's stance.
For me, I took a bit of a different perspective on it because as Model United Nations representatives, we need to represent our country, but also think what's best for our country. So although I did try and follow to the principles of Gabon as much as I could, I know Gabon has had a past of neglecting some native populations, which is what my committee was about. But thinking of the future, I was trying to present that in my resolution, which does help with other countries who want the world to be a better place.
I was gonna ask, do the Gannon professors judge you, or who's overseeing?
I can speak to that. We were stopped this year more times than I can ever recall with praise from the Gannon professors. They're the students at Gannon work in conjunction with the professors to assess the papers, and we were stopped many times and praised about the level of writing. They wanted us to encourage them to go to Gannon. They were very impressed.
The gentleman who was kind of in charge of overseeing that part of the process said that when they came across a Fredonia paper, they didn't have to see the name of the school. They knew it was a Fredonia paper from the first sentence because they were all of that caliber.
Yeah. Gabby's and Greta's was the runaway favorite. So we're that's something that's a real cornerstone of Fredonia. We write well, we work hard. The whole mentorship thing really happened very naturally. I mean, when you think of 65 people and 2 of us, and I said to our senior leaders, I'm like, okay, pick someone. The matches that they picked it all happened so seamlessly, and we're so fortunate to have that kind of culture where our senior students will work willingly with the younger students and mentor them. And this year was really special because of that was really the first time we instituted that. So all around a very positive experience this year.
Yeah, I'd say too, you've enhanced your debating skills.
Oh yeah.
And speaking skills.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. So we have minutes from the last meeting. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor for approval, please? Ms. Gagnon, in a second. Ms. Powell-Floyd. Any comments, questions, concerns? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Thank you. We have financial treasurer's report and the approval of a change order for the capital project. 1A, can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please?
So moved.
Mr. Hawk, can we get a second on that, please?
Yeah, second.
Mr. Forrester, thank you. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I've got questions in regards to information that's been given to us informally and meaning verbally and written. I needed some clarification. We really didn't receive that until, in part yesterday. Some of this was discussed in part, but not in whole.
Okay.
And I was with the understanding that there would be a presentation this evening as to the spend down and to how this was going to be rolled out. So I asked Mr. Certicio, is that going to take place?
It's part of my administrative reports to talk about the additional scope in the project and what to spend down on all days.
Okay. Well, then at this point, I would request that we table these 3 change orders
Okay.
until next meeting.
You'd like to table all 3 of them?
Yes.
Okay. Is there a second on that request to table?
Yeah, I'll second.
Mr. Forrester, So there is no additional discussion. Those,
Would you like some comments on the impact of tabling until next meeting, or
well,
just gonna move forward?
we're gonna move, we can get comments, but with a tabling and a second, it's automatically.
I understand that, I understand that. My point being is the change orders before you are for the renovations to the life skills room, which has been talked about and discussed with the facilities committee, I believe with this board in general, and also for the trophy cases. Life skills renovations are scheduled to start on Monday, I believe it's at the 17th, and carry through until about mid-March. Our next meeting is February 25th, is that correct? My question, I guess, for clarification for the board, if these are tabled until next meeting, then it's my understanding is that I should halt construction until after that time. That means the displacement of the life skills class will be moved until later in the school year. We will do what we have to accommodate that. The trophy cases certainly aren't a disruption, but I'm concerned with the disruption to that group of students in that class.
Mr. Baldwin, if we get the comments now, is it possible for us to have a discussion and make a decision?
It's been tabled.
Well, we haven't voted on it yet, right?
You don't have to vote on it.
Yes,
Yeah, you do.
You do.
You do.
You need a second, you need a motion, a second, and then you need to vote. I do know that the facilities committee is going to meet either sometime this week. My question being is if the facilities committee agrees to move forward with these change orders and move forward with the life skills construction, do I have the blessing of the board to continue as planned? If they don't, obviously, then I would have to halt things. That's assuming you get the votes to table the motion.
Okay.
So, sorry, Mr. Certisio, could you confirm when is the facilities committee meeting?
I'm available, I set my availability for the rest of this week to the committee. We haven't had a chance to set a time. But I'm available after today's meeting, I'm available tomorrow afternoon, I'm available part of Thursday afternoon as well.
We're talking about this evening.
Okay, we can meet after the meeting? Yeah. Okay, that works for me. So we'll meet this evening afterwards. My concern is if we have to wait, this is a rare moment in this project where you're actually asked to approve a change order before the construction actually starts, because of the way the paper flows and whatnot. If the committee meets today and says, okay, that's what we understood, thanks for the clarification, this would have made things better for us had you provided this earlier. Will I have the green light to move forward on construction start Monday? Or do I have to find a date after the 25th? And we're at a point now where our contractors have less and less work here, so they're starting to send their folks elsewhere. And we all know this happens in construction projects. So if we delay until after the 25th, I'm only making an assumption that they can do this work in the life skills room shortly thereafter. We're starting to get into the time of year where we're at a time crunch. This project has to be completed really by late May to early June at the latest, so we can finish our final cost report, get those into the state on time to get the aid runs flowing for us.
Is this the point to ask questions in regards to this topic?
Certainly.
Okay. In regards to the life skills, have we passed that as a project to move forward?
We did in the facilities committee.
Okay, but it hasn't been done yet.
I don't know
As a
that.
board, at a board level, because it exceeds the limit.
Well, my limit for approval was exceeded a long time ago. And that's why all these change orders come on board.
So, I guess one of the most important things is I see one of the change orders, or two of them here for the life skills room, are in the approach of remodeling, but we haven't really approved the restoration of the life skills room. Would that be correct?
It's the plans you mean? Yeah. I disagree with that. We looked at those plans comments quite a while ago, and we put it on, we set it aside to see where we were with the project. And then as the committee met to look at other things we could add, the life skills room was at the top of the list. The overall price tag for the renovation of that room is $95,000.
And that's part of these change orders.
These change orders are part of that 95.
So that clarifies one piece. The second is the total cost of $95,000. Why isn't that brought as one piece?
For several reasons. These change orders are brought to you contractor specific, okay? And also you recall that change orders greater than $35,000 require additional communication contact support from state ed. So we've had a number of change orders throughout this project that are broken down so that we avoid that threshold essentially.
So one of my concerns is clarification as to how this is going to roll out, being on the facilities committee. And I haven't really seen any formal plan from either our managers or architect nor yourself showing how this is going to roll out. So with these pieces here, I was unaware of how this was happening. I see the demolition piece. As a board member, we really weren't privileged to knowing that this amount was part of the 95,000 or beyond.
Okay.
And I do believe that we've paid a considerable amount of monies to our management company and the architects to provide us with this type of information. I'd like to ask you, do you feel that you need help from the board to request that information to be able to supply us with that in a formal manner?
I think I need help in clarifying what exactly you're looking for, what
A
information.
breakdown, because that's what I asked for last week via email to you, and we received pretty much a reprint of a total spend down, which was way in excess to the dollar amount that we were told we had to spend down, we had left to spend down. So it wasn't until yesterday that we received additional information. And even that information still raised questions. So that's why I say we're a school system spending millions of taxpayers' dollars.
Right.
And with that, we're paying these people a considerable amount. And I think that, precise and exact numbers are not too much to ask for. And I'm not in favor of rubber stamping things.
I understand. I understand.
So that's why I asked for that information. That's why I feel that I'm unclear on what you're proposing here in this change order. That's why I asked for them to be taken. And I still request them to be taken.
So just to clarify, you're asking for specific monetary information
Oh, and work scope,
and work scope.
which is the project.
Okay. And by work scope, you mean exactly what is happening in that life skills room?
A map. If you're looking at spending $95,000 and you're going to bypass the state's system of above $33,000 for a change order needing a SED number, okay, then, I think we should be privileged to understand how you're approaching this. It's been rather informal up to this point.
Yeah, I will agree that it has been a long time since the committee has looked at the schematic of the room. And in retrospect, I should have included that in your backup. So I apologize for that confusion. I can provide you with a map, with a drawing.
I believe a map to the numbers and a map to you know, the description of what's taking place. Because we're given these change orders, we have no, I mean, I'm in the facilities committee and I don't know what they pertain to, other than additional cost above what we had talked about, which was $95,000. These appear to me to be above the $95,000.
No, absolutely not.
Well, you understand that, I don't.
I know, and well, that's my way of emphasizing that it's not above 90. We haven't spent $1 on the life skills room at this point.
But I understand we've given them the green light.
Yeah, and we had talked about it at the facilities committee a number of times. The last facilities committee meeting, I was asked, what have you given the green light to? I said the life skills room and the trophy cases, because we had spoken about it at this committee a number of times, and I felt that the committee supported those decisions. I heard from the committee, I felt that those decisions were supported about those two pieces. We had further discussions about additional scope in the project. You asked for, the committee agreed on certain things to include in this project. The committee said we should move some other things to a later date, so our new architect, particularly the ventilation in the auditorium, so our new architect can take a look at that and give us a better idea. There were 2 other items that the committee asked me to gather more information for. I did. I responded back in email and in hard copy, and I got a positive response from the committee on those items, and that was fencing at Wheelock, and it was replacing the pads that needed it in the elementary activity room. So I should have included a schematic. I thought there was a better understanding that apparently there was, and what we were doing here.
Well, I just want to go on record saying that I do believe that these changes, from my understanding, are going to help students' needs. And that I'm not against spending the money, but I definitely don't feel like approving something that I'm unsure of.
So there were items that were added to this after the last facilities committee?
Absolutely not.
Well, you know, I'm going to say it as simple as I can. It wasn't broke down as to how this was going to be rolled out. And I don't know, as I just said a minute ago, if this is additional cost to the $95,000 or if this is part of the $95,000. And because this is being passed in part to bypass SED's request, okay, over the dollar amount, we were never really given the map as to this is how it's going to play out, or even some sort of course. So that's why it was unclear. And I think it's a fair assumption.
When you say, sorry, but when you say play out, are you asking, you want more specifics on the actual scope of the work? What we're doing with casework, what we're doing with flooring and lighting and heating and cooling?
I think I'm talking in general as far as the dollar amounts, because that's part of what the facilities committee is in charge of approving. All right, we're not necessarily been asked to approve because we're not stakeholders. What type of flooring and tile and cabinets are needed? That's their job, or I should say, task. All right. Our job is to understand, the breakdown and what we're getting for that breakdown.
So I guess I'm trying to understand this. There's a $95,000 essentially change order to the life skills room, but we're only approving 33 right now. And that we will
We're
have,
only approving 13.
okay, the 33 is going up, but there will be an additional 60,000 at a future meeting.
Whatever the difference in math is, yes. The original number we got on the life skills room was well over $100,000, about $150,000. And at that time, the life skills room, as much as it's needed, and that space is needed renovation. And I have to say, the facilities committee, particularly Mr. Hawk, we're big advocates of remodeling that space, but at the $150,000 price point, it was too expensive for what we were able to do. We reworked some things. Kristen Tomaszewski was part and parcel in making some plans on how we can make some adjustments so that it's the right space for our students and their needs. And the price tag came down to $95,000. When we got to a point, a project where we realized there was additional scope that we could do, and we've done, and in a future meeting, I'm going to outline significant extra scope within that $8.5 million approved amount. That's when the life skills project moves towards the front of the line, which brings us here today.
Any other comments? Okay, we will be voting on the tabling of this. If that, we will discuss it at the facilities committee when we vote.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Okay. All those in favor of tabling this signify by saying aye. All opposed? So we have 5-2. So that is tabled. We have personnel, we have the approval of 6 resignations here. And if I could, I'd just like to are we okay with putting them all together and discussing them all at the same time?
No, my
Or
recommendation.
would you like to do this separately?
My recommendation is these folks have put in an awful lot of time to the district. Let's take them on.
Okay. If I could, I'd like to get a motion to bring this to the floor, letter of resignation, for retirement for Michael Gioloretto. Could I have a motion on that, please? Ms. Gagenschatz, a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Gioloretto. Any comments?
Just congratulations to Mr. Gioloretto for a long career in our middle school. I'm sure he's going to enjoy retirement. My understanding is he is somewhat of a motorcycle fanatic, so hopefully he has a long retirement and wears his helmet and stays safe.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have a resignation letter for retirement from Kathy Cassini Stager. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please? So moved. Mr. Hawk, and a second?
Second.
Mr. Johnson, any questions, comments, concerns? Mr. Certisio?
Sure. Congratulations to Kathy. When we met to talk about her retirement, she was adamant that it was time to spend more time with her family, particularly a new grandchild. She's very excited to move into this next phase of her life. She's going to have to pass the torch. What is our field trip that she carries the torch for?
Genesee country.
The Genesee country, and so I'm sure someone, maybe even Mrs. Forbes, will be picking that torch up and
I think
something.
he's already thought that. All right.
We'll make sure we look into those buses maybe next week.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. We have a motion to approve the resignation for the purpose of retirement from Ann Schwartz. Can I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please? Ms. Powell Fortman, and a second. Ms. Gagenschatz. Any questions, comments? Mr. Certisio?
I think Ms. Schwartz is the youngest looking retiree that I've ever met. When she dropped her letter off and Ms. Lagle told me who it was, and I said, well, this just can't be right. So good for her that she's able to retire when she clearly still has her health and hopefully a good deal of energy, and we wish her nothing but the best.
Thank you. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We have a motion, can I have a motion to approve a letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement from Howard Fitzgerald?
So,
Mr. Johnson, and a second on that.
I'm gonna ask you to vote no on this one. Mark is and these are all special people, right? You don't dedicate this many years to education without having a really big heart, and Mark is certainly in that category. My favorite part of the elementary day is when those students are getting off the bus and running, sprinting to embrace Mr. Fitzgerald and his greeting by name of every single child and the true affection that he has for them is really going to be hard to replace. The thing that's going to be even harder to replace is those mismatched sneakers that he wears. In honor of him, I have one brown shoe and one black shoe on tonight. So
On
you're looking at my feet
On
now.
purpose?
I'm kidding. But I'm just trying to inject some humor because that's what Mr. Fitzgerald did. Is he just brought a smile to a lot of faces.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ben.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Sorry, you wish.
He would have gone anyway.
If I could have a motion to approve a letter of resignation for the purpose of retirement from Kathy Loader. Ms. Gagenshop, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Hawk, any questions, comments? Mr. Saticio?
Ms. Loader, again, is going to be greatly missed. She and I have a number of conversations throughout this year as she had thought about retirement and when would be the best time to do it and so on and so forth. And she clearly has a passion for working with our children that's going to be missed, and I wish her a long and happy and healthy retirement as well.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? If I can have a motion to approve the resignation of Mary Angeli Perez from her teacher's position aide for the purpose of accepting a new position within the district. Do I have a motion on that, please?
So moved.
Mr. Hawk, and a second. Ms. Powell Ford. Any questions, comments, concerns?
You're going to see her name later unless it's in consent. She accepted a position, a clerical position in our middle school. So now that team will be complete. We were down the secretary there, and Mary Jelly goes by Jelly. Just a great personality, very positive. The atmosphere at our middle school office is really going to be outstanding with her and Sarah. Very welcoming, and I look forward to working with her.
Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Thank you. We have if I could have a motion to approve the probationary appointment of Esther Cobb to a 6.5-hour day, 10-month-a-year position. This teacher's aide. Could I have that motion on that, please? Ms. Gagenshop, in a second.
second.
Mr. Johnson, any questions, comments, concerns? I don't see Esther here.
Here's a funny story for you. So I interview all final candidates, and Esther came to me and I said, this can't be who I'm interviewing because she's been here every single day anyway, and I thought she already was a full-time employee. So I'm glad we found a spot for her. She's already been a great fit.
Great. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? We have, if I could have a motion to approve the appointment of personnel in a provisional position for Mary Angeli Perez. So we're moving her from one to another. Could I have a motion to bring that to the floor, please? So moved. Mr. Forrester, and a second.
Second.
Mr. Hawk. Any questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed? Thank you. We have the approval, if I could have a motion to bring to the floor the approval of request from Greg Lauer, Athletic Director, to create a unified champion schools basketball program. Jagenshots, and 8 seconds. Ms. Powell, 4.
Would you like some comment?
I'd love some comments.
So, Mr. Lauer came to visit me a couple weeks back, and he said, when they asked me about unified basketball, I told them no, not this year, but they put us on the schedule. What are we gonna do? I said, we're gonna find a way to make this happen, Mr. Lauer, and I'm really appreciative of your work and utilizing almost all exclusively funds that are in your budget already. We're gonna have a little carryover, which Mr. Forbes has been able to find in our general fund. And I certainly enjoyed our first unified bowling match, and I can't wait for our first unified basketball game. I know a little bit more about basketball than I do about bowling, but certainly not a lot about either. But the ability to really interact at a basketball game is going to be much greater. So I encourage all of you and the students in the audience as well, because once that schedule is out, to mark down our home opener and please be in attendance. That's assuming you vote yes on this, so no added pressure. But again, I said it before. It is it's the culmination of the great things about this district. And you know, we heard earlier about our students mentoring other students. Well, now it's students partnering with other students, and the opportunity for the general student body to come out and support their classmates. And if you're not there, you're going to regret it, because it's going to be a pretty special event when it kicks off.
Any other questions?
Just the season, because obviously it's short. So.
Starts in, what's the season, Mr. Lauer? May?
The first game is like May 1st, and then the last one's the 29th. So it's the month of May.
Has this been recognized by our association in terms of coaching stipend?
We are following through the recommendation you made for the unified bowling, and the position would be paid through the extracurricular line at this point. It may be added to coaching as we enter negotiations in another month or so.
Thank you.
I'm going to put Mr. Lower on the spot and say, I'm hoping that your recommendation is partly due to the success of the bowling.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was just thinking, 2 months ago I came in here and said, we just want to, baby steps, let's try the bowling. And I, just was overwhelmed when I went to the first match, like how much energy there was, and no offense, but it's bowling, I mean, it was just so exciting to see our general ed kids, the excitement they showed, and then I went to the second home match we had, and the energy level was still there, and they're up in Lancaster tonight against Holland, that they left for a 3:30 match today. So I think the bowling's been fantastic, and Kristen Tomaszewski, the energy she had was amazing, and Alex has been a great coach, and it really was no stopping them in kind of moving forward for this basketball. So I appreciate you guys supporting this tonight.
Thank you. Anything else? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. Congratulations again on a great program. That takes us to administrators. Everything else is consent. Next, we have a presentation from Mr. Ray.
Thank you.
Smart School Bond Act.
Mr. Prince, if you could join me. Come on up. I'd like to officially introduce Mr. Doug Prince to the Board of Education. Doug is our Director of Technology, and he is the one who makes sure that everything works very, very well. He's been with us for 2 years, and he's been an incredible addition, so thank you very much. We're here tonight to present to you the recommendations from the district's investment plan committee. And pretty much what this is our second venture in how we are going to intend to use our Smart Schools Bond Act money. The Smart Schools Bond Act was passed back in 2014. There were funds that we can specifically use for educational technology, for infrastructure, for security. In that initial allocation, the district was given a little over $1.1 million for that purpose. A little while ago, we put together our first investment plan, and we decided to go very, very small to try to make sure we understood how to work the process. And we decided to focus on security. We intended to install IP cameras both in the interior and the outside of the main campus. The anticipated cost at that point, the initial cost was $139,000. We submitted the plan in April 2018. 14 months later, it was approved July 17, 2019. So there's a big turnaround time, even for a very, very small project. We were fortunate in that the final project cost was $82,000. Why was it different? The technology changed in 14 months, and instead of having a camera in a corridor facing this way, one facing this way, one facing this way, one facing this way, they created new, we call it fisheye cameras, where one camera looks in 360 degrees. So it saved us $56,000. So we're very happy about that. We knew this was a project we wanted to do this year, so we put together a committee, representatives from throughout the district, administrators, teachers, community members, also a student who actually was our technology intern for the last 2 years. The committee met 3 times, and it really had a lot of discussion about how we intended to use these funds. We had to make sure that whatever recommendation that we made aligned with our integrated technology plan goals. And those 3 goals, very simple. Our teachers will use a variety of methods and strategies for applying technology in their classroom. Our students will use technology as a tool throughout everything that they do. And as a district, we're going to commit resources to acquire and support technology in our district. So the committee itself recommended that we focus on instruction technology moving forward. Having focus on classrooms, students, and teachers. We also, Doug and I, wanted to create a plan that would be sustainable. Our challenge is that we could easily create a plan that would spend that entire $1 million right now. The problem is that in 3 years, or 4 years, or 5 years, that technology is going to phase out all at once. And I don't know if we're going to have something like this down the line. So that was Doug and I, our challenge. So what we did was we created this we decided to take this into 4 separate district investment plans. So each year for the next 4 years, we're going to be coming to you and presenting the next phase in the plan. What we decided was that each phase will focus on a particular school, but also included some elements for the other schools as well, so that it's very equitable. So not only one school gets all the technology in one particular year. Very important, each year we're going to be reviewing each of our plans to make sure that it is still appropriate. Can we make any adjustments? So the district investment plan number 2, right now we're looking to purchase interactive flat panels that are on rolling mounting brackets. We're looking at purchasing teacher laptops that include docking stations and monitors. That will really be for the high school. We're looking to purchase document cameras. This is something that we would like to do for our elementary school. We're investigating Top Cat audio classroom systems, and we'll give a little bit of explanation of that in a moment. We're also looking at doing some switch closet battery backups just to make Mr. Prince happy. The total anticipated cost is a little over $300,000. Now, we've been very fortunate in that this year we actually installed one of these interactive flat panels and racks in one of our classrooms. So as you can see, it's mounted over the already installed whiteboard, and it literally goes from one side to the other. It's very, very handy because the teacher doesn't lose the whiteboard space. If they want to present something or do some type of interactive lesson, they can move it right to the center of the room. If they don't want to use it, they can move it to the side. Also, what we really like about this is that it has decreased our installation time by a number of days. In our middle school, we literally would take the white panel whiteboards off, mount the interactive panel, and then reattach the whiteboards on the side. So this is a much easier way of making the classrooms a little bit more usable for both teachers and for students. The dock that we're looking at for the laptop computers are laptop computers. The mounting dock, not mounting dock, the dock, all the cords, all the plugs from the monitor, from the keyboard, from the mouse, from the interactive white panel, from the Elmo, go into the dock, which is in the upper right-hand corner, and then one cord plugs into the laptop. So if a teacher wants to take the laptop with them, simply unplug one cord, and then they're mobile. It's a very, very much more efficient way of doing things. And what we like about this is the fact that right now our high school has a lot of different equipment and a lot of different stages. This standardizes everything for everyone. The Elmo, or the document camera, looks like this. We actually were able to purchase a few of these a couple months ago. We've been giving them out to teachers, having them test it out to see, is this what you really need? Essentially, you put a document, push a piece of paper underneath the camera, and then it will be presented on the interactive whiteboard. Very, very simple thing. This is the Top Cat audio system. And pretty much what this is, it's installed in the ceiling, and it's a speaker that a teacher will use for the entire class for those students who may have auditory issues. We didn't really want to, we wanted to see how well they worked in classrooms, how well they work in the space, in large spaces and also tighter spaces, to see if this is something that we want to continue looking at. I believe we're planning on looking at purchasing 5 of them, putting them throughout the district to see how well they work. We do have students with these auditory processing issues. What we found is that it's a much fuller sound for the entire class. We have temporary units throughout the district right now. This would be something that would be permanently placed in the ceiling. This dusty piece of equipment is the battery backup. These are located in the server closets throughout the district. Do you want to say anything about things?
What the general gist of what these things are is all they do is they keep electricity to the rack while we're moving. If we lose our line power, the transition to generator power, and it keeps power onto the rack. We have voice over IP phones, so our phone system relies on the network operating. So these are getting a little old. We've already lost a couple of them, and they're a little bit pricey. So if we had this money, I would like to get these in just so I can more surely speculate that we'll be able to sustain a power outage and keep phone systems going.
Perfect. So as far as the timeline, today we are just presenting this to you. So after this day, we will be posting this on our website, and according to the Smart Schools regulations, it has to be there for 30 days. At the board meeting in March, that will be an official public hearing to hear from the community if there are any questions, any comments about the project. If there are none, then in April, and that's to be determined because we're still trying to figure out what day we're going to be meeting as the Board of Education. The final Smart Schools Investment Plan will be approved by the Board of Education, and at that point, we can submit to the state, and then we wait for about 14 months. Any questions regarding the plan?
Mr. Rita, it seems very prudent to kind of space out the investment, that makes a lot of sense. Is that $1 million, is there any expiration on that? Do we need to use it by a certain date, or how is that?
Not right now.
Okay.
It's there for us to use as needed.
Great.
And that's one of the things that we're very cautious of. We wanted to make sure that we use it properly.
Perfect, thanks.
I also think it's a wise idea to, because technology changes, so $250,000 every year, is that about what you're looking, or are you doing?
Essentially, yeah.
And are you looking to, like, the document camera, for example, like a lot of teachers would have no idea how it works, the benefits of it? I do, it's amazing. How do you propose to, expose the teachers to it so that they know if they would want it or not? Like on service day, or like a lot of teachers might not know that they actually would
would like to using it,
Yeah.
just to talk about the capabilities. That's one of the things that we're looking to do is to share more, have teachers share with other teachers the things that they currently use in the classrooms for our upcoming in-service days. The document cameras right now we're planning on putting them in our elementary school, and I'd say more than a tremendous amount of our elementary teachers currently use them already.
So this budget is for essentially hardware only, it's not for training.
Correct, hardware only. That was one of the limitations about the smart schools money is that we couldn't pay for people. We can't get positions, we just have to have equipment.
So where do you see that as being an issue? Is that an issue? Do you think
Not
that
right
we'll be able
now.
to train
I
enough
think-
teachers
I do think we'll
on
be able to
everything
train.
that you're doing?
Yeah, the training, I do believe that between our two Dougs in our tech department, between CSLO with Erie One BOCES, we have enough trainers to show people how to use this type of equipment.
Your salary, right?
We have the budget to get that in here.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Well, you're saying that professional development and how to use this technology is really important.
Well,
You're right.
it does you no good if people don't know how to use
I
that stuff.
absolutely agree that our professional development plan has to be connected with this investment in technology. The one piece that you gentlemen didn't talk about, but you certainly were clear in speaking with me, is one of the reasons why it's so important to have a sustainable program is because of EdLaw 2D, which we've talked about here briefly, right? EdLaw 2D has done a lot of things, one of which is really caused many districts some consternation with how they're going to manage their software programs, because we have some very specific requirements, but also it hits on the hardware side of things, and it gives a very specific shelf life, or I should just say life, for hardware type devices. So, Mr. Prince, you said something to me that right now, if we have a Chromebook, we limp it along and as long as we possibly can, which is the right thing to do. But in the new world that we live in, we have a set amount of time that's considered a viable device.
Yes, sir. There's a automatic update expiration for Chromebooks, for example, where they stop issuing updates
And then that device in order to stay compliant with the law,
Sure.
that device has to come off of our inventory. And it's either replaced or not. And more likely, it will be replaced with something. So that's a real important point to remember and to ponder when we look at the long-term sustainability of the technology in this district.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Very much. I think that we're gonna stand right here, but we've got Mr. Forbes with a presentation on the first draft of the BOCES project.
We're gonna watch the video first, right? So, thank you to Mr. Jambrone, who attended a BOCES board meeting the other day and brought back the suggestion that it might make good sense for our board to see a video that BOCES put together. It's about 10 or 11 minutes long. It highlights the different programs, highlights students from really each district. There's certainly a Fredoni student that's highlighted, I'd say pretty prominently. So just take a look and a listen and give you a better idea on what we invest in when we invest in BOCES.
You know, there's this deeply held belief that folks who learn differently to be okay in the world have to stop being different, have to fix themselves. It's a deeply held belief that's embedded in our textbooks and has been institutionalized in our practices, and it leads us down the road of saying, you know what, if kids like Jonathan are gonna be okay, we gotta fix them. But the reality is, that's not my story. That's not my journey of change, and it's not what leads to transformation for young people like me. My story is not one of being fixed, but one of being empowered. My mom fought for the idea that if a kid doesn't learn the way that they're taught, well, guess what? We should teach the way that they learn. That's our work together. That's our work as a community. To be advocates to change not the kid, but the classroom around the kid. And if there's one thing we know from all of the research literature, young folks who struggle in school and survive to thrive, those young folks all have an advocate in their life. And often that advocate is you. It's an educator who wakes up every single day and says this student has a right to an individualized and personalized education. They're not broken. That changes people's lives.
Seeing this program and being shared that what I'm going to be doing in high school is going to be related to what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life was like, I didn't know that that was possible. I didn't know that you could do that. And I feel like going through high school, knowing that what I'm learning now, I'm going to be able to take with me is incredible.
I actually want to be a gym teacher when I get out of here. I want to go to JCC to get all my credits that I need. And then I want to transfer to St. Bonaventure. And here I get a lot of those credits that I need and much of the knowledge that I would use.
I'm going to have the opportunity to have a full-time career right out of high school. That's going to help me so much because I don't have parents like every other kid. I don't have somebody to help me go through college and somebody to help pay some bills when I'm in college and pay for food or etc. or live with when I'm in college. So having the opportunity to get a career right as soon as I get out of school is so amazing for me because I wouldn't honestly have the advantage to be able to afford college without this.
My cousin that graduated probably 2 years ago told me about his experience in conservation. It was definitely an experience, and he said it definitely changed his way he looked at school as a purpose actually.
Coming to this school, like even high school, changed everything. Like knowing that I'm going to school with kids that have problems like me, and then coming here and being able to succeed like in the way that kids from my regular school would, you know what I mean? And knowing like I have problems, but like I can succeed way beyond the standards that I thought I could.
It's a good opportunity, and I just wanted to take it because I do a lot better hands-on, and they said it's hands-on, so I was like, okay, well, this will be good for me.
It's really given me an edge when it comes to applying to colleges that I'm very interested in. It's also given me a lot of knowledge. I think of it as a very positive thing for me and the students who are enrolled in it. I think it would be a great thing for Chautauqua County.
BOCES and the criminal justice class benefited me the most because it taught me more about myself and it gave me a lot of self-growth, and it taught me all these life challenges and obstacles, and sometimes you're not going to always get what you want, but if you work hard enough for it, you're going to get pretty close.
I wanted to challenge myself because I thought about going into auto tech, and then I said, let's go for the challenge, and I want to coach and I want to be a personal trainer. So that's why I joined, and I love it.
It was kind of always on my radar when I learned about it. I liked the idea of it being able to go and start to specialize younger than some of the other kids. A lot of job markets are so competitive, and you would just want to have any edge you can.
Everyone has their own story why they're here. My grades were failing when I was in North Collins. I didn't pay attention. I didn't do any of my homework because I didn't focus on it. But the year I came here last year, all my grades were in the 90s, like almost instantly. I did very well in my classwork. I did everything punctually. I got everything done on time. I had stuff going on in my life to where I thought that was the answer in my life. But now that I'm here, and I feel like at least I'm moving forward from the things that I did back then.
I have found that everybody's different. Everybody has different character traits that you need to strengthen, and you have different weaknesses that you need to work on. Me, I'm empathetic, I'm optimistic. I'm not very much of a leader, but as was class before, we're going to work on that. Confident, and you learn to be more in tune with yourself and to see what emotions you are feeling and not worry about other people's. as much as you would.
The teachers are pretty good here, not gonna lie. They do their job, they help us out a lot, they do very good at their job. I'd say I've improved a lot.
It's a really good program. I like all the learning experiences and getting to go on clinical and like really getting hands-on. Honestly, I was not like thinking about this program at all when I was first thinking about coming to BOCES. I had like a whole different program in mind, but I don't know, I started thinking about it more and it just made more sense because if I want to be in the health careers field, why not?
High school is not for everyone. It's a cookie cutter portfolio. P-TECH will tailor your education to what you need it to be, whether that be you need more help with, project-based learning rather than book-based. You're going to be receiving an education that doesn't force you to learn the material as much. It's more of, here's the material and sort through it the way you need to.
I enrolled in the small large animal science program because I struggled a lot in home district with like math and science, and this allows you to gain your math and science credit in a easier form and a form that I would enjoy more than just sitting in my class for 40 minutes, and it applies something that I enjoy a lot, so it will benefit me more in the future. If I do it here, I can learn like the veterinary sciences and the math that goes with them.
Oh, I absolutely love it. If I didn't go to BOCES, I probably would have dropped out. Being 100% honest, like when I first started coming here, like the BOCES was all I could talk about, all I could think about, and I was so excited to go to school. And like, I'm a National Technical Honor Society, so I can only miss 5 days of school. And like, if I wasn't at BOCES, I would not be going to school because I've learned that I'm a very good leader, and I've learned that that is potentially something that will help me out, like when I go into the military.
I say CTE takes my mind off of it. Like I'll go there and I'll leave everything at the door, and then I'll go and work with the animals, and like I just bring peace again.
Yeah.
So I like CTE. Like I like going. I love working with the animals. I love meeting new people. Like I like working with other people. And normally I was like shy to do all that. Like I wouldn't work with people, but CTE has like really brought me out of my shell, I would say. I got kicked out of every school I've been to. My sister dropped out, and I always told myself, like the day my best friend Cujo passed away, I made him a promise I'm walking across that stage for you, and I'm not letting up until I do it. Like I know some days are gonna be hard, some days are gonna be easy, but once I walk across that stage, like I will feel accomplished, and I just can't wait for it.
Working outside every day, not being stuck in the classroom. You get dirty here, do things you'd never dream of doing in a homeschool. I'm an honor student. I've been an honor student my whole life through Pine Valley. I just realized that being stuck in the classroom is not something I enjoy.
It's really nice. I've learned a lot more than I probably would have if I went to auto tech. Like welding, I didn't know a lot about it, and now I'm like, I love welding. And like when I work on small engines over here, it's actually entertaining.
Coming here was my only option, and if I wanted to graduate this year, I had to come here and do my best. And here, I have more relationships here. So like I have more friends that are closer to me here, and if I need to talk to anyone, all the teachers are open. Every teacher will just like come in and talk to me, and it's confidential, so it's really nice. I like it. It's nice coming over here to learn something that you chose to learn. You won't be able to get it anywhere else. Like I came here, and if I would have went to cosmetology school, like after I had graduated high school, it would have cost me like $80,000.
Well, joining this class, I come in here and all that. My Mr. Lopez, my teacher, he said, you're one of the best students in this class. You're a leader in this class. And I was not expecting that at all from bit. And they're saying, I can see you succeeding in life and seeing what you can do, what you're doing in this class, and what you do in the future. So I was very proud of myself, but if he told me what I could do.
It was back in 8th grade, went to ECC STEM Wars. And I love telling the story as well. I was in the top, up on the bleachers, watching down at all like the robots, the creations people made. I sent a picture of it to my parents and said, Forza Board, these are my people.
Well, most of this year I had all my work done, so got a program set up, talked to my homeschool, we got it set up so I come in every Tuesday and Thursday for the full day, and then I help with the juniors, whatever they happen to be doing. Gives a sense of pride, knowing that, you know, someone thinks it highly. I guess it's a lot of responsibilities, because around here I do just about everything needs done, so it's nice to, I don't know, be trusted enough to have to watch over everybody else.
I've always wanted to be a nurse. I always had interest in it ever since I did a project on like registered nurses in 9th grade, and ever since that interested me. It's a good experience, and not everybody gets to experience it.
I come here to be a leader because, you know, I haven't been, you know, I've been in their shoes. I've been lost. And then there was a time in my life where I had to make a decision. I had to say, okay, all right, it's either I get into the ball game now or bye.
You all wake up every day and you commit your life to making sure schools don't just work for some kids, but make sure that school works for all kids. And that is the most important work anyone can do.
Now onto the budget side of BOCES. Good luck following that, Mr. Forbes.
It won't be as exciting, I'm sure. Just to give the board a little bit of an update, we are working through getting to the point of a first draft. And as you probably all recall, I like to get everything in on the front end, kind of get everything to the kitchen sink, and then work back off of there. To do that, one of the first things I do is to put in the BOCES budget, and that becomes one of the key starting points. We are about 80% done on the regular budget right now. We're down to inputting one of the school budgets, which will happen tomorrow. We're working with Municipal Solutions to verify our debt service, both state aid and payments for 2020-21, because the state has a habit of not having everything exactly in the way that we're doing it. Kim has been working on the health insurance piece of it in our office, and also been working with the TRS and ERS rates to get that settled. So all that's going to happen in the next 7 to 10 days. Tonight we're going to review the BOCES budget as it stands today. There are a number of unknowns at this point, which you may also recall from prior presentations. Our special education costs, including the menu options, which are OT, PT, counseling, social work. Those all tend to move as students are assigned to the BOCES program for next year, and also even the existing students that we have. Each time we get a bill, there are some tweaks there, so that's not final at this point by any stretch. We've got in projections for alternate education, both at the middle school and high school, and I'll talk about that in a minute. Final occupational education costs, BOCES bases our charges on October 1st and February 1st counts. We have the October 1st count, which I'll again mention in a few minutes. Still have not got the updated February counts because they haven't done the updates for us. And the central business office, as they add and delete services for all the schools that participate, those will fluctuate a little bit. The next two slides are kind of small. What I want to do is go through each category quickly and talk about whether there's a change in it, a significant change, and if there is, why. Taking a look at the first one, we have the business administration. That's the central business office for, we get a base charge, and for payroll, there is state aid that comes back against that. Right now, I'm projecting about a $5,400 increase there, and I don't think we'll be much beyond that. Purchasing, we're budgeting the same there. Personnel, we're up just a little bit there. That's our labor relations basic services, about $500 up there. Operation of plant, this is our risk management, COSER, and that right now they're projecting to be flat at $12,915. Central data processing, overall we're looking right now at projecting $53,000 up. And I should say, as we go through all of these, it's an ongoing process. Mr. Reed has met with Erie One, which is a tech side. I talked to Kristen Farrow probably on a weekly basis at this time of year. We're looking at all our services to see if we need to add or delete anything. So in the 1680, which is our central data processing, this encompasses a majority of our technological purchases through BOCES. This would be things like our school messenger service, Raptor, which is a new addition this year for safety at the buildings. All of our internet services and network services run through here. Our phone lines, the VoIP phone lines run through this group.
We have applicant software, which is a system that we use to help get and track our applicants through BOCES. Has a number of guidance software pieces in there, test scoring, some data warehousing, and Power School. We also have within this code our health services, which is our basic license, and some support for some of the nursing services through BOCES. So quite a bit of activity in that account. And so right now we're up 53,000, but we are looking at it there. The next category, administrative services. This is a required BOCES general administrative charge. That's based upon the weighted average daily attendance for each district. So in this case, we're going up $5,600, and that will probably be where it stays. We also have required charges for capital expense for rent. This would be our portion of any place that BOCES would rent, either from our district or other districts. That's up $1,800. In the area of capital expenditure project, there's two sections to this one. One, which we talked about at previous board meetings, this is the 2019-20 is the final year of the 3 years that we had to pay the BOCES bonded debt. So we have $238,000 coming off. In addition, we always have a charge, which is a project charge that they maintain for smaller projects, generally around $35,000 to $40,000. They've also increased that by another $50,000 to accomplish in another way things to get some of their projects done through BOCES. So we're down $238,000, we're up $51,000, so a net decrease there of $186,000. 2010 code is our curriculum development. In there, we would have any Board of Education development or workshops and our substitute reimbursement, and that's up $2,300. Supervision of regular school is our online resources information and all of our library automation programs, and we're actually a slight decrease in that area looking forward. 2060, planning services, things like our BOCES aid service. We have the ability to go through Questar BOCES anytime we have a question regarding any of our aid, and they can get explanation for us. They provide different trainings and things like that. We have a grant procurement base fee in here to hopefully get us some grants at some point. Also, the policy manual update for the Board of Education, and the GASB 45, which is now GASB 75, which is a required method of reporting for the Governmental Accounting Standards Board. The switch from 45 to 75 is about a $3,200 swing in that code. The 2070s are in-service training programs. This would be things like athletic certification, the HUDL program for athletic videos, some sexual harassment and societal coordination types of things, our superintendent evaluation programs, and our school curriculum support services. That's basically flat. Teaching regular school, this would be our regional summer school and exams. Our performing arts programs that the students go to different art programs and BOCES provides aid back on that. Elementary, K through 6 actually, so elementary, middle school, science kits. There's a change there this year. We're looking at going to a different style kit because the ones we had were felt to not be sufficient. Projecting that out right now, that's about a $20,000 price increase there. But we're still working through that with Mrs. Troutman and Mr. Drollinger. Also in here is some CSLO services and some customized school health package. So that area is right now projected to be up $73,000. The big one now is going to be the programs for special education, our high cost students, and this is up significantly. I think I had mentioned that along the way. Just to give you an idea, in the area of 112.1 last year, we projected 1 student. We currently have 2, and we're projecting in this draft another slot for potential 3rd student. Our 161 students, we projected 6. We have 10, and we're projecting another one right now there. And our 181, we projected 3. We have 3, so we've added another slot there. And that's not unusual at this point in my process to have those extra slots in because it's easier to take them out than to put them in as we go through everything. Some of the kids were brought back from here. Some are new students to the district. So we do get aid, it's subsequent year aid. So on the front end, we have to take care of that. So for current year 1920, we're looking right now at a projected over budget of $500,000 in that area. And when you factor budget to budget going into 2021, you're looking at north of $900,000 for that particular category. And that does include, as I mentioned at the outset, the things like speech, language therapy, physical therapy, social work, that kind of thing. Our occupational education, as I mentioned, that's based upon October 1st and February 1st enrollment. Last year, our average between those two was 55 students. The projection for October 1st was 41 students, so we have a decrease of over 100,000 there. Typically, you'll find that the difference between October and February is a student or two, so I'm really anticipating we're gonna be somewhere in that 40 to 42 range. We do have in there 7 P-Tech slots. We have budgeted 3. We actually have 5 students going there, so we're projecting 2 above that. So there's an increase of 82,000 there. That particular code does net out to be a decrease of 23,000. 2610 is our library audio visual, instructional media services and technological service, and that's up to $100. 2630, these are primarily Erie One services as well, which is our computer-based assisted instruction, things like local assessment, district hardware and software purchases, administrative projects that run through Mr. Rada, data management, and things of that nature. And we're projecting right now to be up 17,000, but I am carrying a little bit extra there. We also have interscholastic athletics, which is the final general fund category, which is Section 6 coordination, league fees, coaching certification clinics, things of that nature, and we're up $534 there. We also do participate, which doesn't show on this because this is general fund, with the WinSnap cafeteria program. That's the kind of service that where the students check out and the record maintenance there. It's about $11,500. That does get paid for by the cafeteria at the end of the year. The next couple of sheets kind of outlines what I just went over and shows you the categories of where the major expenses are that have increased or in some cases decreased over 5,000. Do want to point out, I'm not going to go over each one of these, but the slots, where I have different slots, like option 112, 1-2 slots, that would be a full student slot. Same for an aide, that would be 1 aide assigned to 1 student. But when you get into the speech, the counseling, the occupational therapy, and things of those natures, that's not a student, it's their time slot. So if they get 30 minutes of service and we want another slot, that'd be another 30 minutes of service. So 1 student could actually have 5 or 6 slots in any given area, so it's not necessarily affiliated directly to an additional student. Occupational, mentioned the occupational education, we're down 11 students. The P-Tech, we're up 4 slots, but that should say 4 students. Parents as teachers is a program we're looking at to provide some services to families. That would be an increase of 15,000. Alternative education in the high school, we have 7 now. I budgeted for 8 for next year, and I mentioned the science kits a few minutes ago. Capital projects, I already went over that. Administrative charge, same thing. So pretty much it's just a summary of the last few slides that we've gone over. So overall, right now, our total projected 2020-21 BOCES budget would be an increase of $893,000 or 28%, factoring in that I'm carrying a number of high-cost slots right now as we work through that process.
What's the amount of percentage aid we get from the state?
70%.
70%? Is that applicable to line 2250?
Yes, there is aid that'll come back on the high-cost kids. It doesn't come back the same year. It's categorical, so it comes back the subsequent year. But yes, there would be aid coming back on that.
Do you have any place of the amount of aid that we're receiving back from last year?
I don't have that on the slides. I can get that if you're interested.
So when you're looking at all your major increases in BOCES services, you're up slots and aids here. Is there really the question is for you, Mr. Brown, is this an increase in need or is it a decrease in our that break point? We're putting more people in into a program, even though I guess I'm saying this wrong. Is the standard that we're putting people into this decreased so that more people are getting into this, or is there a greater need at that level?
I think there's a greater number and a greater need. And I don't know if that's what you're asking me, but that's how I'm interpreting it.
Well, for example, if there's, you've got speech up for slots, is that because there's more of a problem with speech, or is it because we've decreased our standard and we're putting more people in that last year wouldn't have, we wouldn't have put them in at that level last year?
The former. It's a bigger need.
It's a bigger need. Okay.
So the
What you'll
threshold
find-
hasn't changed.
Thank you, threshold is.
Yes.
Yeah, what you'll find is that existing students, it won't be that they went from 1 to 6 between now and next month. It'll be 1 to 2, 2 to 1, that kind of thing. But then when you put the new students in and they get the initial evaluation, you might have 3 or 4 slots up front that then get reduced. So you kind of have to compensate for the fact that we have new students as well.
Did we see the same type of scenario last year when we looked at the slots and everything? There was a lot of increases and everything, but then does it tend to?
Initially, yes, and that typically is where I start. 'Cause I said it's easier for me to take something out than to put something in. And part of the conversation that'll take place, and we had a little discussion today, is any of these students potentially moving, or we have any students here that are potentially adds, and we kind of worked through that process to get to a number. This past year, we had a couple of students that we thought could be successful here, and pulled them back and budgeted for them differently, and it turned out that that was not what happened. So that accounts for part of it. The other part of it is we've had a number of students move into the district that have had these high needs, and we've had to place them as well.
Any other questions? Thank you, Mr. Brooks. You don't have any slides, do you?
I don't have any slides.
Okay. You now want to start on the construction progress?
Sure.
Mr. Fitzgerald?
So, in addition to the conversation we had earlier in those 2 projects that were discussed, I provided the board with a color-coded spreadsheet. It's green and kind of a pink color, and there's some yellow in there as well. These are items that were reviewed, as I mentioned earlier, with the facilities committee to include as additional scope in the project. And I think one of the things that I owe this board at maybe the February 25th meeting is a list of the work that was done, both as part of the original project as well as the additional scope. And I think when we review that additional scope, it'll be a little clearer why we've had the number of change orders that we've had. As I've said previously, any change orders that we've received for many months now really are because we've been able to do more in this project than we originally thought we were able to. So I'm going to go through this list, and again, it may change because we're going to meet as a facilities committee after today, but prior to today's meeting, the items that I was confident we were moving forward on, and in some way, shape, or form, we probably will, was the continued renovation of the life skills room that we talked about earlier, the trophy cases with lighting and tile in the hallway outside the high school cafeteria. We talked a lot about fencing at Wheelock, and we discussed whether we should just replace the ball field fencing or the ball field fencing and the perimeter fencing. 2 of the 3 facilities members agreed to replace the fencing in its entirety. And I really feel because we were looking to do that work, we got a much better cost on adding the canopies to the backstops out back here to the softball diamonds and the baseball diamond. By canopy, I mean an additional piece at the top of the backstop to stop all balls from going backwards to where we may have some pedestrians in those walkways or people sitting watching the games. We had some discussion about the wall pads in the elementary. We call it the activity room. Activity room. We looked at a lot of different options there. We looked at replacing all the wall pads, which we took that off the list immediately. We looked at having the current wall pads reupholstered, we just simply couldn't find any folks that could do that work for us. And ultimately decided to replace 40 wall pads that are in disrepair. And there are different levels of disrepair. Some are ripped entirely, some are starting to really just be picked away at. Further down on that list, I did extend the services of our construction management company to help through the rest of the project. We did something a little bit creative, or we're planning to do something a little bit creative. And we talked a lot about curbing and removable curbing at the northeast parking lot. And really the thought there was not so much the need of curbs, but a need of a barrier to prevent vehicles from going down that hill if they hit a patch of ice or something like that. In addition to that, in our new asphalt walkways down by the tennis courts, boy, it looks very inviting for a car to just drive right down that asphalt walkway. And that's not what it's built for. So we've added in some landscape boulders to add some hardscape, a more natural look. It'll be a good barrier in both places. We put this pool scoreboard on hold to determine if there's funds in the capital project to replace it. We really did that because we became aware that we have a need for a new diving board. So we put the scoreboard on the side momentarily and included the pool diving board. We need some benches in our dugouts for both baseball, softball, and soccer. There's furniture amount that is probably going to be less than the $75,000 that's in there, but that includes furniture for all the new office spaces and the conference spaces, as well as appliances in the life skills room as well. We talked about the canopy. We have a number of areas that need new window shades. District office, elementary school and middle school offices, for whatever reason, new shades were not included in that part of the project. It was recommended by the committee to remove the pool ventilation system from our current project because we really want to partner with our new architect and have their mechanical engineer give us an idea of what's really needed in that space. Because we have had a lot of different opinions, so that was a really solid recommendation from the committee. We did add some power to the top of the bleachers to help with when the folks are there broadcasting on the radio, as well as recording and whatnot. So a couple other things here. The next one says heating controls in district office. So we had a new heating system put in the district office as well as in the new office spaces in the student services space. And they're having a real difficult time adjusting the heat on any days that's say colder than 28 or 25 degrees. So they are working on solutions. The cost in that area isn't known at this time. The committee really feels that the district should not bear the burden of that cost. I plan to do whatever I can to ensure that. As we've talked before, there's a threshold of errors and omissions in any architectural contract. In the contract, it's 3%, which is roughly $250,000 of errors and omissions. So they screw up or they forget something, and in totality, it comes in less than $250,000. They're supposed to be free and clear, and we're supposed to foot the bill. So we need to work through that with Clark Patterson Lee, as well as Jeff Stone, who's our attorney from Cox and Russ, and see what we can get done. Also on that spreadsheet are some things that were considered but did not move forward, and the rationale for why those things didn't move forward is listed there for you. The request was for additional information on what the spend down amount is, and at the time that these documents were produced. And there's a second spreadsheet that's not color coded. It goes through by each building and shares you the specific costs that were incurred in each area. It ultimately comes down to having about $104,000 left at the end of the project. Really though, that's probably more like $50,000, because we need to make sure we keep around $50,000 for this project, in our pocket, so to speak, to take care of what the costs are gonna be when we go to bond the project in June.
Yeah, it'll coincide with we have a 1-year note, and if we get closer to June, the evaluation will be whether we take another note or go for a bond. Bond rates are very favorable right now, so.
And then the final document I share with you, it says Buffalo Construction Consultants at the top, and it goes by each vendor and lists what the original contract cost is, and then goes through additional items that work that they provided. For instance, on the first one, Beck Electric, the original contract amount was $454,000 and some change. And then there were a number of things that Beck Electric did for us, because we had money to address them. And you'll see some safety issues. For instance, an upgrade to the fire alarm system, the wheel-lock PA system that needed to be upgraded. And then you'll see some things that were errors in omission, like such as the power to the softball scoreboard, and those types of things. So each contractor, the contract amount as well as the additional amounts are outlined for you for each contractor that we have partnered with throughout this project. Any questions about where we are with the project? I do apologize that you got some of these documents yesterday. I was working remotely Friday and throughout the weekend. I did not feel comfortable simply forwarding them to you until I could actually review them myself, and trying to look at these things on my cell phone wasn't really working, so I apologize for that.
Any questions? Mr. Certisio, you're gonna mention the governor's.
Oh, yeah, it's kind of important. So, one of the components of the governor's first proposal for the budget has to do with facilities, it has to do with construction projects. Currently, we get 82 cents on the dollar, right? So for every dollar we spend, we get 82 cents back. Okay? He is looking to roll that number back somewhere in the 10-cent range. Is that fairly accurate? Do you recall the numbers? It's really low, really low. So essentially, if that passes, and we know we're early in the budget process, and we've talked about no panic early on, but if lightning strikes and somehow that becomes the rule, future projects would be dollar for dollar, essentially. In addition to that, he is working awfully hard to make any projects outside the physical body of the school to be unaidable. So fencing, backstops, walkways, the drainage that we put in, under his current proposal, we would receive no aid. That is alarming in many, many ways. First off, I'm fearful that if this goes through, the idea of building construction projects to further the education of children will be gone. The projects will simply be maintenance. So in this project, we would have done the roof, maybe the parking lots if we get aid on those. I'm not sure about that, and probably not much else. Putting the onus and the full burden on local taxpayers with no aid in return is really going to change the landscape of improving schools, at least the physical plan of schools to meet the education needs of students.
I would definitely comment on that. I don't see that happening. I mean, I think it's like John's budget, it was a big shocker, and then cuts back and cuts back. You got 700 plus school districts in this state that are public schools plus the city schools, and I don't see them making up the difference. And I would definitely like to address that when it happens, but I really don't want to alarm anybody at this point. Any other questions? Okay. Next is addressing students in need. Mr. Fitzgerald.
Yeah, so this actually was generated, MJ, from an article that I read in the Observer not too long ago. It questioned what we were doing at Fredonia to help students in need. And so I asked the building principals if they would put together some information for me. And they did, and Ms. Slagle took it and really boiled it down to those things that we're doing district-wide, because I don't think we need to list Feeding Fredonia Challenge in each one of our 4 schools when we were all doing it. And put this together. And I really put it together for your review. I wish Ms. Piper, Ms. Troutman, and Mr. Paschke weren't at a conference right now learning how to address chronically absent students, because I'd really like to talk with them a little bit and actually thank them for their leadership, and Mr. Jordan, thank you for your leadership, at really creating these opportunities for our students and our staff and our community to give to those in need. And so it's quite a lengthy list. It covers, some things that are really formalized, such as Feeding Fredonia Frenzy Challenge, to some things that are a little bit less formalized, like how we handle students who need school supplies, or what happens when a student doesn't have a snack. The Halloween costume shop, Ms. Piper was thrilled at how many costumes were donated, and that everyone, the same with Mr. Drollinger, everyone was taken. So students all, no matter how things are going at home financially, they all had an opportunity to have a costume, and little things like that level the playing field. I'm not gonna read through the entire list, okay? I mean,
No, that's fine, but, it's interesting that we do so much that never does get attention to it.
I mean, our middle school, I'm sorry, I'm just blown away. Our middle school class receives donations of clothing and toiletries from the community. The stores are open for students at the shopping daily, shopping finger quotes, because everything's free. Gently used items. There's a food pantry support. There's Thanksgiving food drives. A prom dress giveaway at the high school. Mr. Drollinger, what have you seen since you got here that's...
I've seen a lot. Like I said, the Halloween costume thing was really cute because one of our teachers received a lot of donations of the Halloween costumes, and we hung them all up, and kids could come in and shop and things like that, which was great. The teachers, give generously. They donate to dress down and things like that, and then we look for kids who have specific needs. But what was really nice is when we had some families come to us during the holiday season in particular, who were just going through hard times and they didn't know where to turn, so they turned to the school. And we had the opportunity to step up with significant donations in the form of gifts and things like that. And a lot of that came from the FTA in cooperation with our Dressed On Days and other donations and things like that. So we did the winter warm-up drive, which was really nice, where families brought in some extra hats and gloves, and we kind of kept those in-house and just gave them to our own. So I think that was a nice way to give back to the kids right in our own district. So yeah, we do a lot of things, but a lot of it comes down to the teachers. They really do a lot for our students. That a lot of things that go unnoticed. Not necessarily the big, the big food drives and things like that. But the day-to-day things and the things that our teachers do are really wonderful. So you should really know that they do a lot for your kids every day.
Thank you. The board has reserved this time to hear comments from the audience. Those wishing to address the board are asked to stand, give their name and address, and limit their comments to 5 minutes or less per individual or group. Audience members seeking a response to complete a board correspondence sheet and return it to the district clerk. Is there anybody who would like to address the board? No?
I just want the paper signed.
I think they want to go to a basketball game.
It's a big one.
The next regular Board of Education meeting will be in 2 weeks on February 25th, right here in the high school library at 6 o'clock. You have nothing else?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Mr. Jambrone?
Thank you.
No? Mr. Hawk? No. Mr. Forrester? No. Ms. Gagnon?
Just very quickly, I had the opportunity to attend the advisory council meeting today with our guidance counselors from all the buildings, social workers, school psychologists. Got an update on a lot of the great plans that they have in place, programs, goals. But also continue to hear what we know is the changing demographics and needs of the community. So I expect, we will get more updates on that, the next time they come. But another group working really hard for all of our students.
Mr. Johnson?
Oh, just a quick 30-second update on the gym, the middle school gym floor. Is that up and running again?
Sure is. It's been waxed. It looks, you can tell that there's a difference based on the color, but it looks good.
Mr. Drollinger, you're the only principal here today. You're gonna have to
Sure.
triple, quadruple duty.
Well, we have a cool partnership with the college where I was approached by one of the professors who wants to make a series of videos for social emotional learning opportunities. So for example, teaching kids how to behave in difficult situations, like how to start a conversation or how to deal with failure. So they want to film videos with our students and then have a video library where we share them in-house. So if a teacher sees one of those difficult situations, they can play a video and it'll hopefully teach the lesson to the students. So I think it's a really cool, creative way to partner with the college, and that's just the beginning stages. And it'll be a year's worth of work, but at the end we hope to have a bank of videos. So it was an exciting project. It was fun.
Mr. Forbes?
Just one thing, I gave each of you a copy of the budget information booklet. That's got all kinds of great information, historical data.
Reading it tonight.
You can't sleep tonight? Pull that out.
So, if you have any questions on any of it, let me know. I can answer them.
Mr. Ray? Fitzgerald?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Friday the 31st, 2 weeks ago-ish, was the inaugural Unified Sports event, as we've talked about. I just wanted to note that there were easily over 100 people in attendance there. It was really well done, a lot of enthusiasm, and I wanted to publicly thank Greg Lauer, first and foremost, Alex Conti, and Kristen Tomczewski. I really had very little to do with that, and they've done a great job, and I'm excited that the basketball team is going to be up and running this year as well. It's great.
Is a great night.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It's like a
Yes, I do have something. I just wanted to let the board and the public know that our Wall of Honor nomination process is ready to go. So thank you to the board's work on that and Mr. Sortisio as well. So it is on our website under district office. The forms along with instructions on eligibility and things like that are on the website. We did have a couple of different folks who were interested in that process, and we did communicate with them directly this week to let them know that that process is available, so.
There is also a legislative meeting on, I believe it's March 5th?
Have to double check, I don't have that one in here.
Okay.
I'd have to double check.
The dinner is, is anybody attending that?
I think we have to, is today the deadline?
I can check on that, they're
I think
pretty.
it's very soon, but I would, if you could put just before the next meeting, if you could put me down.
Yep, they're pretty lenient on adding people, so.
Yeah, I think Andy Goodell and George Perella are speaking. And I don't remember where it is.
It's Summer.
Summer.
Yeah. Yes, Brian, I will, sorry.
Thank you.
I will put you down for that.
Thank you. Okay. If that's it, being no further business, if I could have a motion to adjourn. So moved. And Mr. Jambrone, did I hear?
Second.
You're second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
8 o'clock.